to go to school with other children, to befriend them, to get them friends of Israel, friends of the Jewish world. So by the time that their friends go to universities and then graduate and then enter into politics, they're all friends of the Jewish state and the Jewish people. So it's a strategic goal, AIPAC. I don't know these days to what extent their influence is. But just like the Qataris, Jewish people also have money, and they also are strategists. But listen, we're not doing it, Brandon, at least in my opinion.
They apparently spent $3.5 million lobbying in 2018, okay? So $3.5 million lobbying. It doesn't sound like they bring in $100 million a year. I think a lot of people are giving them more credit than they have ability, even financially, to do, right?
Yeah, but what I've heard, Brandon, is that apparently there's a law in the United States that you can only give up to a certain amount.
Colonel Rob Maness has a lifelong record of providing dedicated service to this nation. Having worked his way up from the enlisted ranks to full colonel, he served our country for more than 32 years. He has served as a bomber squadron commander, bomb disposal technician, Joint Chiefs of Staff Operations Officer, assisted the National Security Team with the campaign plan for the global war on terrorism. He authored the first theater nuclear war plan, and served as the Vice Commander of America's largest airborne intelligence wing. Colonel Rob Maness is a true American hero. This is Rob Maness Live.
I'm Brian Norris, retired Army First Sergeant, husband to Kelly, father of 3 amazing girls, and a lifelong Arkansan who puts faith, family, and fair elections first. When Independence County demanded real election transparency, I led the charge, petitioning voters and winning at the Arkansas Supreme Court. Now, Little Rock bureaucrats are punishing counties like Searcy for putting voters first. That's not real conservatism. It's big government overreach in disguise. That's why Trump allies like General Michael Flynn, Mike Lindell, Justice Michael Gableman, Colonel Conrad Reynolds, Senator Wendy Rogers, and Senator Mark Fincham back me. Together, we'll secure Arkansas's elections and inspire the nation. As Secretary of State, I'll implement President Trump's executive order, verify citizenship, replace hackable voting computers, and build trust with verifiable paper ballots. I'll cut red tape for businesses, harness our natural gas and lithium boom, and attract tech jobs to grow Arkansas strong. This is our fight, our future. Join us.
Paid for by Norris for Arkansas. Welcome back to Whistleblower Wednesday, folks. The Rob Maness Show is live on Worldview Tube and our X Spaces simulcast. Well, the road to securing our elections is long, and our nation is still in a crisis because of it. The assassination of Charlie Kirk put a bright spotlight on the fact that our most basic rights and values like freedom of speech and religion are under vicious and violent attack all across our nation. There is no more basic American value under more active threat of destruction than our right to free and fair elections. Since the theft of the 2020 election, we have seen our politicians fail to address the known integrity and security issues over and over again. So, Americans who understand the challenge and have served before are stepping into the breach. My guest today, you just heard from him, is Brian Norris. I'll say it, talk about him again. He's a retired Army First Sergeant, a husband, father of 3 daughters. For 21 years, he served in the United States Army, deployed to combat zones, and leading elite components of preeminent American military units such as the 25th Infantry Division, the Hunters and 1st Airborne, and the 3 Armored Corps. I tell you what, that's a great record. His mission is simple, and it's unwavering. Serve God first, others always, and defend the values that built this great nation. And now he's running. He's running for Arkansas Secretary of State. And we get to spend the next hour with him to talk to him about why people like he just talked about in his video are backing him, what the issues are, what the issues about the technology really are, and what the fix is. Brian, welcome to the Rob Maness Show.
Colonel, thanks so much for having me. I'm humbled by that intro. It's always kind of odd to hear somebody read off stuff about you, and I appreciate it very much. And thank you for your service too, and trailblazing. I mean, it's pretty cool to sit here and chat with you. You know what it's like to be an enlisted guy, and you made it all the way to be a full colonel, which is no small feat in and of itself. So it's pretty impressive, sir. And I'm happy to share the camera with you.
I appreciate that. And I've run a couple of statewide political campaign races as a candidate too, and raised money. And I know what you're up against, which is why one of the reasons why I wanted to have you on is because our PAC, Gator PAC, and you can find it at gatorpac.com, folks. Give us a $5 a month recurring donation. We support, one of the attributes of most of the candidates we support is that they are a veteran of the United States Armed Forces, because veterans sign up to protect and support and defend the Constitution of the United States. And what's today? It's Constitution Day, my friends, and that's why we're all here. Well, other than that, that's a great video. I don't always show candidates' campaign videos, but when we see a good one, I like to lead the show with that, especially if I'm thinking about endorsing them. And I'm thinking about endorsing them. I don't do a whole lot in state races, but we do take action in state races. So no pressure. You're not under audition or anything.
Well, Colonel, I can handle the pressure, and I've had, I'll tell you, like I tell everybody when I go out, this is my opportunity to earn your support. I don't want you to just give it to me. I want to earn it. So put me to test. Let me show you what I can do. Let's have the conversation. Iron sharpens iron, and I'm ready to go to work with you. Well,
two of the people in state races where we have supported are Wendy Rogers and Mark Fincham. So that should tell you where I'm leaning. But absolutely. Seriously, though, great video. Tell your team for me, fantastic video. It looks very familiar. I wonder if I've hired them before. What made you? The big question is, the video does a great job about your bio. I talked about it. So what made you pull the trigger on a race for Secretary of State? That's an unusual first political office move.
I'm a glutton for punishment. But no, I wore the uniform for 21 years. And throughout that entire time, every day I wore the uniform, my nation was at war. So I served them in their time of need, and I was happy to do so time and time again. And I knew what could happen, every time I did make that oath of reenlistment. And then when I came home, what really started to aggravate me was when we were doing the petition process for paper ballots in Independence County. I can't tell you how many people told me, I don't vote because it doesn't matter, it doesn't count. And that was a punch in the gut. And I always told my soldiers, like, don't come to me with just a problem, come with a solution. And so after thinking about it for some while and some encouragement with some of my teammates, they lined out that I have the skill sets, I have the education, I also have the civilian experience, and I have the integrity to do what's necessary to secure our elections in the state of Arkansas in alignment with President Trump's agenda. So after a lot of prayer and winning over my boss, the wife, who's, God bless her, she's willing to once again support me as I go out and do things and be my biggest cheerleader. But without her, I couldn't do this. You can't do the things that you need to do out and about unless you got a support structure, either from a nation supporting you as you fight their wars, or doing anything from the home front. And she's been phenomenal. So we decided that our kids are worth it. Our countrymen in the state of Arkansas are worth it. And I'm going to endeavor to do absolutely everything that I can to secure their elections, give them back the government that represents them and doesn't rule them, and then do everything I can to create generational wealth in the state of Arkansas to help lift them up out of the poverty state that they're in.
Yeah, I get asked today. I was asked. I was at a Republican lunch before the show here, and was asked multiple times, "Are you running for office again?" My answer is always pretty simple. I said, "Well, there's one vote yes that I have to get before I tell you whether I'm doing that or not, and I still haven't procured that yet." Her name's Candy, my wife. Because it's that important. It's a family endeavor. It's not for every candidate that's out there. It doesn't matter whether it's a man or a woman. It's a family endeavor, and there's family behind them, and they got to be on board with it. So, I've
got a great one. She was awarded the Indo-PACOM Spouse of the Year in 2019 for all the things that she did for families and stuff within the 25th Infantry Division and Indo-PACOM there. And she's been such a supporter of our armed forces throughout that entire career, leading FRG groups and doing all that stuff. And now she's doing it for the people of the state of Arkansas. So very happy to have her. I'm very fortunate.
So you mentioned that people were telling you that they didn't think their vote counted. What did you do what action did you take to convince them that it really does count?
The first couple of times, Colonel, to be honest with you, I didn't know what to say. I was kind of taken back a little bit because I had this idea in my head. I joined the Army right after 9/11. I was in my first semester of college. And so I'm a true believer in our country and the founding, and I still got a very good civics class in my school. It wasn't polluted at that point. And so the entire time I was away running and gunning and doing stuff, I still had that idea in my head. I wasn't jaded. And so it was very off-putting to me to hear that. And I was taken back and didn't know how to respond. So I dwelled on it a little bit after hearing it 4 or 5 times. And what I started doing is I'd look them dead in the face and I'd be like, "Do you support the troops?" "Well, yes, sir, absolutely." "Well, the number one thing that you can do to show that you support the troops and all the white crosses across the world that gave the ultimate sacrifice is to go and vote. Whether you think it counts or not, make the effort. Because if you don't vote, you are still voting for the status quo. So go out, do your effort, show your support. And if you truly believe it doesn't matter, then just check the box that you supported the troops and their sacrifices before you. And that's all you can do. That's all you can control." And that started to move a little people. And I hope it pays off in the long run.
Yeah. What were the main issues beyond that energized you to get in this race?
Beyond the paper balloting issue and securing elections, one of them would be all of the bills that transpired during the legislative cycle, this past legislative cycle in Arkansas. They ran, I believe it was called SB 207 to SB 212. And these bills made it impossible for anyone else in the state to do what we did at the county level. It's impossible now. And I saw that as a direct reaction to circumvent what we did, to keep anyone else from being able to do that. And it ticked me off because it's our government. It's our state, it's our nation, and the people should have an ability to redress their government at the lowest level possible to get results that they want and need that are affecting them. And for you to take my liberties away from me because we were successful and you didn't like it, aggravated me to no end. And that was after they viciously attacked Colonel Conrad Reynolds. In fact, the Joint Service Review Board actually referred him to charges to the state AG's office for his part in helping counties do what we did. It was erroneous. It was appalling. I was disgusted. I gave a very impassioned testimony. I was very emotional, very heated. And I let them know how I felt about it during that point. And then to see the legislature come in and do what they did. And then after that, the only county in Arkansas that was doing paper ballot elections was Searcy County. Well, they stopped anybody from being able to do a petition like I did successfully again. And so now Searcy County was 100% successful in their general election for hand-marked and hand-counted paper ballots. And so what else could they do? Well, they tried to ban those election commissioners for 14 years because of them not pushing. They didn't even push it. Their quorum court voted for it and decided it. These election commissioners were literally just doing the will of the court and the people of Searcy County. They were an instrument. They didn't have a say. And I thought that was very odd how they forced that so deeply onto those people. And a 14-year ban for patriotic Americans just wanting to serve their communities was, I was aghast at it. And then I went and listened to the meetings and to the boards, and I got to know those commissioners, and to find out that the reasoning for doing it was they were citing fraud. And they said, you were too good of a custodian of taxpayer funds because we think that you underpaid way too much for some video recording equipment. So we're going to say that's fraud, and that's a political donation. Well, as you know, when you rent a car, you don't pay for the value of the car when you rent it. You pay a percentage of what that value is, and you get it. Well, they rented the equipment.
It's the market rate, whatever the market rate is. Yeah.
And what do you,
we got to take a
more?
commercial. We got to take a commercial break, Brian. When we come back, though, we'll see a little video clip. I think it's about mail-in ballots, but I want to dive into this a little bit with you about the legal pieces of it, because Colonel Reynolds was on a few weeks ago, but he didn't really go into the part about him being charged. I'm wondering, where did that come from, and what's the resolution on all this stuff? We'll be right back with Arkansas Secretary of State candidate and retired U.S. Army First Sergeant Brian Norris.
You woke up with a sore throat and a low-grade fever. You know you are getting sick, so here's your choices. You can get sicker and miss work, try to see a doctor this week, or sit hours in a crowded waiting room at urgent care.
I have a smarter option for you. Open your medical emergency kit. Match your symptoms to doctor-recommended prescription in your booklet and take the right meds now and get well faster.
This is not a first aid kit. It's like having an urgent care in your home. It includes doctor-prescribed medications to treat over 39 medical issues like respiratory infections, strep throat, pneumonia, UTIs, and more.
No waiting to see the doctor and no standing in line at the pharmacy. It's right here.
Every home should have at least one medical emergency kit, and here's how to order.
Go to worldviewhealthcare.com. Your kit to treat dozens of common and serious illnesses is rushed to your door. worldviewhealthcare.com. That's worldviewhealthcare.com.
The emergency kit available at worldviewhealthcare.com. Make sure you don't have to go to urgent care. I got pneumonia. I didn't have to go. I took this last year. Stayed at home. Went to bed.
We are in conversations with our attorneys to make sure we're defending Colorado's elections. Look, mail ballots are secure. They cannot be hacked because they're a piece of paper. That is increasingly more important as Trump has made our elections less secure since taking office again. He's disbanded much of the federal government's work on countering foreign disinformation and is obviously taking cues about democracy from a dictator, Putin.
Welcome back to the Rob Maness Show, and it's Whistleblower Wednesday. We're talking about election security, election integrity, paper ballots, the big initiative the President of the United States, Donald Trump, is proposing for paper ballots and not doing mail-in voting, except for through the standard absentee process for folks like military members and those kinds of things, which worked very well other than counting timing of those ballots. And most states, after that was realized, changed that so the ballots would be counted as part of the official counts and everything. And that person was Colorado's Secretary of State, the Marxist Jenna Griswold that you heard talking there, saying how secure the paper mail-in ballots were because they're paper. She's not wrong about the paper part of it, but mail-in ballots are far from not secure. And she's the woman that imprisoned County Clerk Tina Peters, Gold Star mother that's still in prison, folks. Free Tina Peters. I'll say it. It's got to be done. And it would already be done if she was under federal charges, but she's not under state charges. The DOJ needs to get to work on that. And my guest today is Arkansas Secretary of State candidate running in the primary, Republican primary in the state of Arkansas, U.S. Army veteran Brian Norris. And Brian, welcome back. I had to show that clip because it makes me chuckle a little bit until I think about Tina Peters, but a couple of issues there. Number one, an elected official trashing a president of the United States and implying that he's breaking an already secure ballot system, which is the wrong thing for an elected official to do, right? To impart unknowns into people's thoughts about how the election system security is.
Yeah, I would think so. And I also want to say free Tina Peters with you as well. And I want everyone out there to know that my good friend and campaign manager, Will Huff, is leading the effort to advocate at the White House to secure her release. So I want to brag on him for that because it's important. It's extremely important.
Yeah, it is. It is. So you're advocating for paper ballots, but not mail-in ballots, right?
No, completely different things. And absentee ballots are different than mail-in ballots as well. And that's important for people to know.
Yeah. How is that different in Arkansas?
Well, it works the same process in many states. An absentee ballot just means that, if you're military and you're stationed overseas and you obviously can't come home and vote, but you still have a right to vote. And there's a process in the military that's vetted and thorough for that individual, that service member to vote. And they should be afforded that opportunity. And if you're infirmed or you're incapable, whatever, you got a good medical reason, you can procure an absentee ballot that is validated and known. There's a process, there's a vetting process that happens for absentee ballots. That does not happen with mail-in ballots, especially in some of these states. Like I heard one of them the other day, I think it's Arizona. They just mail a ballot out to everyone. And there's no control mechanism on it. So that means whatever ballots go out, they can come back as someone voting. And I don't know if there's any real check on that. So it's pretty suspect and scary. Anytime you start mailing out ballots in mass like that, you're just trying to set up a scenario in which you can rig an election and steal it.
Yeah.
So we don't want that.
Yeah. And you were talking before the break about Colonel Conrad Reynolds, U.S. Army retired, who's also been a political candidate in Arkansas. Ran for the U.S. Senate there, the one race that I know about, probably others. Was charged in this process to support paper ballots and hand counting.
Yeah, little bit of correction on it. The petition process and organization, which he was the head of, is what was referred for charges.
Okay.
Okay. And they were just referred. They didn't go anywhere. All they were trying to do, they held this board right before this process was going to go and be voted on. So they wanted that headline out there that we were doing some nefarious or something. They were just trying to get headlines. That was it. It's sad. It's sad.
It is sad. And then the Searcy County election commissioners, I wanted to ask you, are those folks appointed or elected?
They're elected. The election commissioners are elected by their respective Republican Party or Democrat Party of that county. So the majority gets 2 and the minority gets 1.
And
they are elected positions.
And they were going to be banned for 14 years. This is under a Republican administration, right? I mean, I think I know who the governor is in that state.
Yeah, it was very shocking and surprising to everyone. And during that board and that process, the Secretary of State delegated one of his people to chair it. And I would think something that important when you're talking about the banning of elected officials of a county, as a leader, you were a leader. That's my responsibility. I'm not going to pawn that off on someone else. I'm going to make sure that it's right. If I'm going to punish someone that severely, it's going to be T's crossed, I's dotted, all the way, full clarity. And I would always tell my soldiers if they were getting in trouble, when you walk away, you're going to know that whatever happened was just and fair, and you had everything, you were afforded every opportunity. Sometimes you mess up, you got to pay the piper, right? But when you walk out that door, you should be able to look back and say, well, I got what was coming to me. And they didn't do that. And that's a travesty.
But the process was completed to address the accusations, correct? And what was the outcome?
Process went all the way through. They rescinded the ban, and then instead gave them a reprimand. But to the credit of a lot of grassroots patriots in Arkansas who really got the word out, encouraged people to come. We had people convoying from all over the state. I mean, that room was packed. It was standing room only. And the meeting lasted for probably 6 hours, maybe more. And everyone stayed the entire time. And I really believe that if we hadn't have packed the room like that and we hadn't have been there in such a strong show of support, they would have just went ahead and carried on with they wouldn't have changed their mind. They would have went through with it. So, but there's power in showing up, and it was proven that day.
So does that mean that paper ballots and hand counting, if a county chooses to do it, y'all can do that now in Arkansas?
Oh, yes. Searcy County is still going to continue doing it that way via their quorum court. Independence County, it's going to be our first one in 26 because we did it different in Searcy County. We voted it at the ballot box. We got 63% of the vote, by the way, overwhelmingly in support of it, the people of our county. And that polls suggest that's the same across the state and across the nation. The majority of the people want paper ballots. And so we are the first known county in America, in which the citizens voted on how their votes would be taken and counted, and they overwhelmingly chose paper ballots.
That's amazing that you could do that at the county level and just do it. And the Searcy County vote where they were successful, that was the 2024 election, right? The presidential general election. Is that right?
Yeah, they had a 100% accuracy rate, Colonel.
Yeah,
100% accuracy rate, and everybody walked away from that election in Searcy County with the citizens they loved it because every ballot was counted under camera, displayed on very large televisions. So the people doing the counting, they wouldn't have to be surrounded with people looking over their shoulders, make sure they were doing everything. Anybody and everybody could come in and see what was being done. And they also saved those recordings so you could go back and watch them. Nobody can say that person didn't win because every person marked the vote that they wanted. And then they were counted under camera for everyone to see. And everyone got to walk away happy.
And were they done before? Were they completed with an announcement as to who the winners were and losers were by 10 o'clock that night?
I don't recall the timeline on it. I do believe that they had a stipulation. I have to research this a little bit more, but I think Arkansas law still forces them to do a tabulation count through a machine for the initial results. And then the law is written kind of funny. The representative that wrote it is a good friend of mine. We've talked about it before, but I don't want to get it wrong. I think it's they have to be complete with the count within 48 hours of voting night. So they have to use the machines the first night, and then they can count them the next day. And they got it all done in a day.
What does that mean? Use machines if they're doing paper ballots and hand counts?
Well, you have an ocular reader that can read English language in the selection. So when you were in high school, I don't know if they did it but when I was in high school and we were taking those long exams that you fill in the bubbles, and you could run it through that machine and it would recognize the bubbles being filled in and could give you a quick readout. And all these machines did is just gave a quick hit on what the vote was. And then the certification count was taken the next day. But they have to do that by Arkansas law. They have to use the machine to count them.
So they have digital tabulation machines using the OCR ball kind of thing. Okay.
Yes, sir.
That's similar to what we have in my county here. It sounds almost exactly. The machines are probably made by different people. But so my next question is for you from a policy perspective before we get to this next break. What policies from on this issue are you going to implement or correct if there's bad policy?
For what? Could you repeat the question? You broke up a little bit, sir.
On this issue, what policies are you specifically wanting to issue once you're elected as Secretary of State on this particular issue, the hand counting paper ballots? Do you want to make changes to the current law or throw it out and make a new law? And what does that look like?
I want to implement President Trump's agenda. I don't like the fact that a private company owns the machines in Arkansas. The machines read a barcode. They do not read the voter's intent. And so I can't read barcodes, so I don't have any transparency of how the machine is reading my votes. I want to be able to FOIA anything that's going on. And when a private company is running everything like they do in the state of Arkansas, ES&S, I'm not allowed to FOIA that private company to see what's going on with the readers and everything in the machines. I take serious issue that the vast majority of the components inside those machines are manufactured in communist China. We got to get that out. So we want to be in compliance with President Trump's policy and critical infrastructure issues when it comes to foreign-made components being in critical infrastructure. We want to come in alignment with that and get rid of these machines, get these machines out there and go to secure paper ballots that are hand-marked and hand-counted, under camera, displayed, recorded for full transparency. In Arkansas, the Secretary of State is the one that certifies the manner in which the elections are taking place. And so I can't force them to do paper ballots necessarily, but I can certify the mechanism in which they're doing it. Now, I plan to completely utilize the President Trump's executive order to not certify any machines because they have foreign-made components. And we also got to get we have to get smaller precincts to help these counties out. Right now, the way they do it with machines, they can have larger precincts, get more people in, and the machines can handle the volume, right? In order to break it down, make it easier for the poll workers and the locations, we need to go back to smaller community-based precincts. And that way you're going in with your neighbors, you're making your vote, you're making your mark, and then it's being counted right in front of you by people that you know. And it brings a level of intimacy back with it. You should know and walk away completely confident in who won. And that's what I want to see. I want to implement President Trump's agenda, make sure that we secure our elections, we get foreign adversarial nations out of our elections, and we get privatized companies that are for profit and generating massive amounts of profit off of our elections, in which we can't FOIA. We don't know what they're doing. We want to get them out of there and give it back to the people. It's yours.
Okay. Well, we've got to take another break. When we come back, we'll see a clip about the machines and experts testifying before a Georgia Senate committee back in the 2020 election, just to give folks an idea of the challenges and what can happen here. We'll be right back with Arkansas Secretary of State candidate Brian Norris here on Worldview Tube.
So we went and we did the same kind of look at in Georgia. And what we found was very interesting because we found over 200,000 mail-in ballots that when we looked at the voter record had supposedly never been returned. And yet they were voted. Now, about half of those ultimately got purged, but about 96,000 of those were never marked returned, and yet they were voted. And we have seen that in other areas of the country because it's very easy in the Dominion system to assign a person to a mail-in ballot inside the system itself.
Sir,
that's one possible explanation.
May I just interrupt with one question? To assign it that way would, of course, be fraudulent, wouldn't it?
Of course.
Yeah.
Yeah, you have no idea You just have a ballot in the adjudication file, for instance, and you decide to vote it, and you assign it to a voter.
How many times approximately did you
Well,
find?
there were about 96,000 of those that we found I think the exact, 96,600 was the exact number of mail-in ballots that were voted, but were never actually shown as received back by the county.
Well, I think, is there anything else you would like to point out? I think that's pretty complete.
I think that's pretty much got it.
So there's 96,600 votes that were counted, never received, and assigned somewhere. And these would have to be considered illegal votes, wouldn't they?
Right. And by the way, I would say this was not just mere oversight by one or two counties, because we saw this pretty much across the board. And so this was an across the board problem. And we also saw a couple other interesting things. We noticed that sometimes the ballot was actually shown as being voted before it was received back. There was a receive back date, but it was voted before the county received it back.
How could that be possible?
Well, you'll have to explain that one to me too, because it's not supposed to be that way.
Okay.
We also.
Welcome back to the Rob Maness Show. And we're talking about the road to security in our elections. And that little clip there was Rudy Giuliani questioning an expert on digital voting machines about the 2020 election. Happened to be in the state of Georgia. And 96,600 ballots that were assigned as voted. All of them had issues, hadn't been shown to have been received back yet. And you're supposed, the system's supposed to collect all those ballots and keep track of who sends them back and et cetera, so voters can be assigned their vote. That just shows you just a couple of the little challenges in the machines that we don't have access to. That's why my guest today is Arkansas Secretary of State candidate Brian Norris. Brian, you were mentioning about being able to FOIA, Freedom of Information Act, request information inside the machines. Why isn't that possible?
Well, from what I know, the Arkansas State Supreme Court ruled that it was proprietary knowledge, it was a private business, and we were not authorized to have that source code from them. And that's you can think of it this way. Anytime you purchase anything, it has a barcode on it. And the tabulators in the state of Arkansas, they read barcode. They do not read the voter's intent. That's a big misconception that everybody pushes. In Little Rock, they say, well, you get a paper ballot and you feed it through the tabulator. Well, no, it's a receipt. And you put it in a tabulator, yes, but it reads the barcode around the edges of the ballot. It does not read your intent. So I can't read barcode. And to my point, if I was to purchase a bottle of ketchup at a gas station and ring it up, it's going to give me a price. Mm-hmm. But I could take that exact same bottle of ketchup to Walmart and it's going to give me a different price. It's the same barcode, but the code inside the readers is programmed to read that barcode differently. And that's what can transpire in these machines. And now that we can't FOIA it, how do we know?
Yeah. So state legislatures pass these laws. Is one of the changes you want to make is pass law to make these, if you're using machines like this, that the source code has to be public so the public can view it.
Well, I want to do more than that with when it comes to them. If they want to do that, I would advocate for, look, I can't force a legislator to make laws, but if you're going to go down this road, let's do it as fair and honest as possible. One, every machine must be owned by the state of Arkansas and managed by the state of Arkansas, no private business. Number two, all the components inside that machine must be manufactured in the United States of America in compliance with federal law. And then number three, you're not going to be able to keep it out. I can't remember where I was going. Number three, I'm sorry. So
would it happen to be with how do you update the software inside the machine?
No, that wasn't going to be number three. I can't remember where it was. I'm sorry.
Because the issue I have, I help certify our tabulators where we we fill out the bubble on the sheets and then scan them in to count the vote in a digital machine. But it's got 4 or 5 USB ports on it. Now they can all be closed and sealed, and they
That
are.
gets to my number 3. I just remembered. Yeah. Number 3 is the machines have to meet DoD requirements for cybersecurity. That means they can't use USB sticks.
Right. So how would you update the software on the machine if you can't do wireless and you can't do USB? Then it'd be through an Ethernet cable from an update device to the machine.
No,
how do you do that?
I have experience with this now as a civilian. I manage large projects globally, and I'm actually doing this right now over in Europe with the business that I work for. You do device-to-device updates. You have a vetted, known, secure device that is utilized by a member of the Arkansas IT team, whoever they have, and they take those devices and they go one by one and update them. It would be the only way to do it. It's still not the best form. I think paper ballots is the absolute best that we can do to secure our elections. But that is a way to update the machines, is to do a device-to-device transfer.
Yeah, I mean, that's my problem with the machine, whether it's through a USB stick or even a device-to-device. The source code that's being updated has to come from somewhere.
It's got to come from somewhere.
And if it's not public and you're getting it off of the internet from the the headquarters of whoever owns the machines, there's no guarantee that within that source code there's not adversarial or malware or anything like that. That's the problem with USB sticks, is they all have a launch code, a set of launch software that uploads onto your device, and you can do all kinds of things with that.
It is a computer kernel, and a computer knows the date and time. So that code could be written to behave a certain way during a period of time, such as testing, and then start acting differently. And then the moment anybody tries to test it or do anything, it's like, oh, I recognize that. I'm going to behave properly. And then when the election is over, it goes back to behaving properly. I mean, it's a computer. It's going to do what it's told. And there's no way for us to go back and validate if one didn't have the source code and we didn't catch it in the process. And it's almost impossible. There's a great book coming out called Stolen Elections by Ralph Pizzulo. It's going to be coming out very soon. Colonel Conrad Reynolds and Will Huff have been assisting in the investigation process and them writing that. It's going to be very impactful, and it's going to show how some of these adversarial nations have been getting in and influencing some of the issues with these machines that we know about. So be on the lookout for that book.
Absolutely. We know that China was in some of these machines because of the case out in California. Well, we've got a hand up in the audience. I want to go ahead and take that question from the live audience. Shell is our hostess over there. Go ahead, Shell.
We have Nathan, sir.
Hey, good afternoon, Colonel Shell. Brian, I have a concern with chain of custody. I do believe that was one of the topics in the 2020 elections, and I know Trump's cleaned up DEI at the federal level, but at the state and local level, I believe that's still an issue that each state has to address. And what's happening currently with the Charlie Kirk deal, it seems to be a large network that's working against America.
So your question was concerning chain of custody of the ballots if we go to paper ballots? Okay. Great question. We need to utilize the resources we have available to us already. We have state troopers in Arkansas, 2 assigned to every county. I think that they should come under body camera, being recorded the entire way, to the Secretary of State's office to procure their ballots, and they should have a unique seal. And they should seal the box, as well as the Secretary of State's office seal the box, and then under that body camera, transport them all the way to their precincts where they're going to be. Under camera, and everywhere the ballots goes needs to be under camera and being recorded, and do full system checks to make sure there's no chicanery going on. As the ballots are transitioned over, the county clerk validates the Secretary of State seal, and the state trooper validates his seal, and they store them in a vault overnight under camera again, even in the vault. And then when they break the ballots out, the state trooper needs to be there to validate the seal. They bust the seals, and then they issue the ballots out, which should be serialized. To allow us to track where ballots are going, still keeping it in anonymity. There's no number going to a voter so that they can see and report how that individual voted. And then as they're being collected and being secured up at the end, back in the vault, closed overnight, under camera. And I would prefer single day voting. But once the voting is done, the counting is done, everything under camera, that process is then reversed. Unique seals from the county, state trooper gives a unique seal, and then it's transported under body camera and stored in a secured facility for a period of time, 7 years, 8 years, however long you want to do it. And I think that, you know, in the military, we're able to do, Colonel, you probably remember how we used to do ComSec back in the day for that exact reasons, that chain of custody. And we still do a lot of that in the military today for chain of custody. So we know how to do it. It's not impossible. You just got to put in the effort, and you got to do the checks. You got to make sure, is it 100% going to alleviate any kind of buffoonery happening? No, nothing is 100%. Security can be an illusion sometimes, but it is much, much better and much more difficult than what we have today. And I think that everybody wants to get adversarial nations out of our elections, secure them by the people, and walk away in full confidence knowing. Because I think this has been happening for a long time, Colonel. I do not believe that our elected officials in D.C., if they truly feared the ballot box, I do not think that they would vote time and time again for an 80 to 90% negative issue against the will of their constituents, like omnibuses, like the Patriot Act, because they vote on those things almost as if they're not afraid at all. There's no concern on it. And why?
Yeah, you're exactly right. You know, on the little USB stick problem, look, we stopped using them in military computers. Not even the unclassified ones was no longer allowed in the mid 2000s for a reason, and it was all based on adversarial nations, is what those reasons were, folks. So why would we allow those to be used in the most important machines outside of a SCIF in the whole United States? To be honest with you, I think they are. But we got to take our last break. When we come back, we'll see a clip. We'll see a clip demonstrating paper ballots, hand counting. Unfortunately, though, it's not in the United States. But these folks that we're going to show you have it down to a science, and they make their announcement of who won that night. We'll be right back with Brian Norris, Secretary of State candidate for the state of Arkansas.
News is moving faster than ever, and so are we. Worldview Tube brings you 24/7 live stream coverage and now real-time alerts when it matters most. Once you have the Worldview Tube app installed, exit the app and navigate your way to Settings. In Settings, locate the tab labeled Notifications. Select the Notifications tab. Scroll down until you locate the Worldview Tube app icon. Select the tab, and here you can turn on and customize your notification experience for the Worldview Tube app. News doesn't wait, and neither should you. Turn on push notifications to stay informed. Every headline as it happens.
At a polling station here in New Taipei City where the polls have closed and the votes are being counted as we speak. The interesting thing about elections here in Taiwan is that there's no absentee voting, so everything is done in person. You can literally see people there where the votes are being put on paper. There's volunteers inside now reciting what those votes are, and the other volunteers are tallying up those votes right now on that whiteboard. Now, you gotta wonder why they do this, right? Well, it's fair, it's safe, and it does protect Taiwan from any sort of interference from China or other players out there. It is an old school way, and certainly maybe not as efficient as some other economies out there, but certainly it's a way that has worked election after election. We've been told we can't go inside and talk because of all that's going on in there, but here's a sneak peek.
Welcome to the Rob Maness Show, and we're back on Whistleblower Wednesday. My guest is Arkansas Secretary of State candidate Brian Norris. And Brian, I had to use the Taiwan elections clip showing paper ballots and hand counting that are so effective and efficient and safe and secure. They're able to announce the winners that evening. But when I bring this up as the desired end state that I have very recently, within the last 6 days, to elected officials and people that work in the current Secretary of State's office in my state, they go, good luck with that. We don't have the money. We don't have the people. And it takes too long and it's entirely inefficient. You heard the little reporter there kind of allude to that too, but that doesn't turn out to, in fact, be true, does it?
No, it's not true at all. All miss. Searcy County is a good case study of that. They came in way under budget than what they was costing them to run an electronic machine. And I also laugh. This is what I say back to them at the legislatures in Little Rock. What's the most populated county in Arkansas? They'll say Pulaski County. I'll say, okay, did you know that Pulaski County does paper ballots on election day? Well, no, I didn't know that. Do you know why they do that? No. Well, they cite that it's too expensive to put machines at all of the separate polling locations on election day, so they have to use paper ballots. So how can you say that it's more expensive on one hand, but then Searcy County proved that it was cheaper in reality, and your other largest, most populous county in the state of Arkansas cites it being too expensive to do at all the locations? You can't have your cake and eat it too. They're gaslighting us. They're ruling us. They're not representing us. And I'm tired of it. I'm fed up with it. And I'm throwing my hat in the ring. I'm putting my boots back on, and I'm going to go to work for the people of Arkansas, and I'm going to give them back their government that they deserve because they're worth it.
Yeah. So this segment, as we close, I wanted to give you an opportunity to describe what you're going to advocate for from a tactics, techniques, procedures perspective and resourcing perspective in the state of Arkansas. And help counties adopt. I'm assuming the counties have to adopt whatever it is the Secretary of State is advocating for. What does that structure and organizational process look like to do paper ballots and hand counts under your office?
I talked about the chain of custody portion already. And so from a leadership perspective, if I'm going to, advocate for a policy and they're going to adopt it, I got the responsibility to educate you on how to do it, train you how to do it, give you the resources necessary to be successful at that, and then support you during that process. Well, what does this look like? Well, I would like to see the legislatures in Arkansas pass a law that says if you volunteer to support elections, you cannot be fired from your job, just like jury duty. It's another civic duty. The number one reason why people do not volunteer for elections is because they're going to have to burn up their vacation time, or they're going to lose their job because they'll be out so much. So let's take that argument away and protect the people that want to be a part of the process and come in. We also have other options that we could utilize, some that aren't so popular, but we can always explore every option. And that's using the National Guard to facilitate in some of these poll locations. They're already paid by the state. You could use them. It wouldn't be that much of an extra cost to mobilize them. They could also secure the facilities. They could provide transportation. There's a lot of things that they could do to help in the process to bring down cost. And also paper is cheap. Cardboard boxes around a place where you're voting for privacy doesn't cost very much. And a little curtain to go along with it doesn't cost very much. And as long as we take care of those things and the little tables that are on, it's a one-time cost. These machines cost every year thousands upon thousands of dollars for these counties because they have to purchase the ballots again, and they have to update the security measures from the only company that's allowed to provide them. And the security audits that they do on the machines can only be conducted by this company. So they got to pay yet again for that. And then they have a wear out date, and then they have to purchase new machines. So it's a never ending ice cream cone of money that just keeps going, and it's never going to stop. With paper ballots, once you do the initial purchase of the tables, chairs, the curtains, and all that stuff, that's a one shot, one kill. And then every time it gets cheaper after that, you're just paying for the ballots. And then making sure that you've got enough poll workers, that they're properly trained and educated on how to do it and run through the entire process. It's not that difficult. We know how to do it. We did that for 200 years as a nation. Machines are new. People around the world use them for the exact same reasons why we want to use them here. So let's just admit what's really going on, recognize a problem, implement a solution, and give people what they deserve.
Yeah, you would think that because that video clip I played has been widely seen in the United States. I know elected officials have seen it. And what always gets my attention when I listen to it is that Taiwan does that to keep China out of their systems. The South Koreans don't do that, and China's candidates just won the South Korean government, and they're putting the past president, I think, the other candidate, in jail because he's got a South Korea first type policy set. So. Why do you think we get pushback about using these machines when we know that China's adversarial operations have been inside American machines? We saw that in the case out in California.
Well, we've seen it more than that, Colonel. We've seen it more than that. I tell your audience to look up Operation Salt Typhoon, which our own Congress published and said, we know, and DNI Tulsi Gabbard admitted this in the cabinet meeting, that we know for a fact that China has infiltrated our elections, and they have done so for quite some time. That's a direct quote from her. But we also know that they're in our communications infrastructure, they're in our electric grid, and who knows where else they are. So why are we? It's a great question. It's the $37 trillion question, Colonel. Why are we allowing this to take place?
Yeah, exactly right. From your perspective, what do you need folks to do to help you win this election? You're obviously in a Republican primary. The incumbent's not stepping down, are they?
Well, the incumbent can't run because he was appointed by the governor. And so the seat is open.
All right.
So I have two opponents. One, you can't go to war without a war chest. So if you're able and in a position to give a financial contribution, you can go to briannorris.org, or you can email me at norrisforarkansas@gmail.com to find out where to mail a check and stuff too, if you're financially able to do so. You can also follow me on X, on Facebook, Norris for Arkansas, Brian Lee Norris on X, and help push my message out and get me out visible there. I'm 100% grassroots. I'm definitely not the establishment pick. I'm not trying to be their pick, and I don't want to be a politician. I want to do what our founders intended. And I'm going to leave the comfort of my home and go and serve my nation in an office and be a steward of a seat for a brief moment in time that's owned by the people. And I'm going to work to fix some problems and make things better. And then I'm going to leave and go back and deal with the decisions that I made and see the results from them myself. And I think that's a big problem that we have today is a lot of politicians get in there and stay forever, and they never have to deal with the consequences of the decisions they made. They insulate themselves from them. And I don't think that's proper. I don't want to be one of those guys. I want to serve my country again. I want to serve my state, and I want to give them back a government in whatever part that I can control that represents them and doesn't try to rule them.
Yeah, exactly right. I'm assuming your two opponents are political career guys or gals and have been in office before. Is that correct?
Yes. Yes, sir. One opponent is termed out in the state house and termed out in the state senate. And my other opponent has been a state bureaucrat for, I think, 20 plus years, and now is a judge from Miller County. And so they've been in the system for a long time. And that presents problems in and of itself because you get siloed and you think that this is the way that we've always done things. It's working. It's good. And you don't have a detached perspective to see the lay of the land as it really is. You can't see the forest for the trees. And that's one of the advantages that I think that I have is, I've been out. I've seen what things look like. I know what needs to be fixed. I'm willing to do the work that it takes to fix it.
Now, you have a judge that's endorsed you. What's the story behind that?
Judge Justice Gableman. He was at, when I told you about when I testified at the state capitol with that impassioned speech. He was there. He was helping the attorney with the paper ballot initiative and providing testimony and insight. And he heard my speech. He was motivated by my speech. And, you know, he was like, hey, I'll support you any way I can. And he was one of the first people to come out and endorse me and support me when I announced that I would run for Arkansas Secretary of State. And I'm home with that. Mike is a guy, Justice Gableman is a fantastic human being. He's been phenomenal. He's kind of become a little bit of a mentor when I call him and ask him for advice, and just a fantastic human being. Great patriot.
Yeah. So how are you being received by the Republican machinery in the state? Assuming you've traveled the state so far.
Two sides. On one side, it's overwhelmingly positive. Overwhelmingly positive. In fact, my average donation is about $12 right now, which is phenomenal. That's whatever people can give. It's great. I'm happy to have it. But the elected officials and the RPA establishment, I'm probably not their pick. And now they can't say that publicly because it's a primary and they can't do that. There's a contested primary, but they don't hang around to shake my hand, and they sure don't open up the wallet or checkbook to write me a check. So it's pretty interesting to see that. But you know what, Colonel, I got to be honest with you. I'm winning some of them over because I'm being honest.
That's the whole idea.
Yeah. And you know what? You can't fake it like I've been doing it. I've been to 45 counties now across the state. There's 75. I want to get to every one of them. I do a live stream every Wednesday at 6 o'clock where I do a question and answer for anyone that wants to come on and ask me anything. And I've been consistent the entire time. And you can't fake it for that long. And that's what they've seen. And today I got off the phone with a representative, an elected representative in Arkansas. He was like, hey, I support you. I'm going to support you. I want to get through some things that I need to get through at the state, and then I'm going to do it publicly, but you won me over. And that's great to hear. And that's what it takes.
That's it, man. And you won me over too. I'm going to support you too. And I'm going to encourage my supporters to support you. And we got to get this done. We got to get more Americans in that don't want to be career politicians, that want to just get the mission completed. And the mission is we got to save this country. And elections is a foundational move and mission to get them back where every person you talk to, Brian, should be saying, yep, I got full confidence in the election here in the United States. We used to be the gold standard. We got to get back to that. Paper ballots and counting. Way to go. Well, thanks, my friend. I appreciate it.
Colonel, I'm humbled, and I appreciate it. Thank you so much. Yeah, I'm humbled by that endorsement, and I appreciate it very much. Thank you so much for your time.
Well, thank you, sir. We appreciate it. Good luck. Keep up the fight. Go help him out, folks. You heard it there. You can play it back here. Tomorrow's Truth Thursday. We'll have a great show, and I'll see you later. I'm Rob Maness.
I'll tell you one little quick story. We had a Worldview Weekend client who lived in California, lost their house. Very wealthy guy. He didn't use Bitcoin. He came over here, drove to Arizona with $286,000 worth of his gold because he had no money and no house available. His bank was shut down because he couldn't have access to his bank account.
Was this during the fire? Was this during the fires?
During the fire. Didn't have his driver's license. He lost it. The state wouldn't give him a new license because he had no active mailing address. Real mess. So he came to Arizona to buy a house. He's moving everything over. He said, the only thing I got in my possession that I can get liquid with right now is my gold. I gave him a check for $286,000, and guess what? I didn't need his social, his driver's license. Sort of smiled, and I said, you know, I know you and Brandon talked about how this worked, but boy, this is great. I feel good. I got my money. Nobody bothered me, and I'm protected, and it's private. So you people out there who are sitting on your hands when Wes and I are sending you these requests and Brandon and you are talking to you, you better get active. Because you're going to pay me $4,000 an ounce the end of the year. Trust me.
You better get your. I highly suggest you get your free packet. You don't have to do anything. It's free, no obligation. Just simply go to worldviewgold.com, fill out the form, worldviewgold.com, or just text Wes and give him your name and address and say, I want the free packet. That's all you got to do. 602-558-8585. 602-558-8585.